Welcome to More Than a Few Words, marketing conversation for business owners. This is your host, Lorraine Ball. Do you have a vision for your business? Do you have a picture of where your business and your life will be in 3, 5, or 10 years? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And to have that conversation, I've invited Jackson Calame to join me. Jackson teaches visionary entrepreneurs how to unlock sustainable revenue growth and expand their legacy by becoming a power brand. Did you know that 96% of businesses fail within the first 10 years? Jackson teaches businesses not only how to avoid failure, but how to win by becoming a true leader in their market. Jackson, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lorraine. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It absolutely is. And I want to start with the question that I know you often ask at the beginning of your podcast. What's your vision?
Fantastic question. My vision is twofold. One direction is to create a full appreciation for family and personal well-being within the workplace. That preposition being incredibly important. I'm a single father of 4, and there's not a lot of workplaces that want to make room for family. It's especially important when I need the flexibility that I need for my children's case. Then the other side of that is to bridge the economic gap between North America and South America. I got a whole team helping me build that out. And man, it just makes life a lot of fun to be able to try to serve so many people.
I love that as you're talking about your vision, there's not a lot of conversation about how much profit you're going to make next quarter or being a leader in the marketplace. You really have this bigger picture of the impact you can create in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of my audience that are early stage companies are sitting there thinking, yeah, but I've got to focus on that. How do you balance that? How do you have that bigger picture, but still survive some of the day to day challenges of running a business?
You used a fantastic word. Most people live based on survival mode. Instead
Hmm.
of surviving, I focus on thriving. It's about
Hmm.
being your best self. So rather than being problem oriented, that's survival mode is a problem oriented mentality. Thriving mode is a solutions oriented mentality. So if I show up and I'm my best self, I'm going to have my best results, no matter what those results look like. Much like a farmer can plant all of his seeds, grow the best crop in the world, but he cannot control the tornado that could come in and wipe all of that out. The best he can do is make sure he diversifies. The best he can do is make sure that he has a food storage plan and make sure he's prepared for the worst. But if we just focus on doing our best, then we tend to drive better results than when we try to control and strangle the process as we grow. It's like the people who focus on the destination and miss the entire purpose of the journey. I'm focused on
Hmm.
enjoying the journey.
Uh, I love that approach. I love to wander through life looking for the experiences and then trying to figure out how they fit into my life. And I've had the most amazing experiences because of that. But I want to bring it back because in your introduction, I talk about and you talk about becoming a power brand.
Mhm.
Define what you consider a power brand, and then let's talk a little bit about how you get there.
Absolutely. Becoming a power brand for me is all about becoming the market leader. When I say the market leader, I'm not talking about trying to be better than everybody else. Again, you got to be your best self. You have to get the actual work done that allows you to be the expert. And then what often happens is you do become that Batman like figure, but Batman didn't do it alone. Batman had Alfred behind the scenes. And Alfred made sure Batman didn't die on every single one of his missions. He made sure the house was in order and he made sure that the organization was operating at max capacity. That's what we do at First Class Business. The superhero is the business owners we work with, and they all need help with building out their infrastructure and making sure that they can do what they're best at and get a lot of the technical nuances out of the way.
So, as you're looking at your business and you want to build this power brand, what are the kind of things, what are the kind of tools that you need, and what are the types of resources that if you don't have, you need to look outside yourself to fill in that tool belt?
The best thing you can do is ignore the tools and get the right mechanic. What's really annoying and disturbing to me is the amount of entrepreneurs who try to come into the garage and act like they know what they're doing or second guess the tools that you're using to build their spaceship or their car or whatever vehicle is necessary for them to grow. When Dr. Eric Berg came to us, and I was at Video Power Marketing at the time, he paid $495 for a 90-minute session with us to be able to pay $10,000 per month in YouTube ads. That's a very, very large leader. This was back in 2015 when YouTube ads weren't even that popular. He was crushing it. My job was to tell Dr. Berg, your website's one of the worst websites I've ever seen. I wasn't pre-programmed to say that. It was one of the worst websites I had ever seen. He had 106,000 subscribers on YouTube. He was crushing most other brands out there. But had I not had that radical candor, that sense to care enough for his results, the sense to help him see beyond what he could see, he wouldn't be at 12 million subscribers today.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And that is so true. When you started that section talking about fixating on the tools, I built an agency based on strategy. And when I sold it, I really enjoyed having conversations with business owners with no strings attached. I'm not looking to sell anything other than spend some time with me and let's have that conversation and let me get you pointed in the right direction. That's my joy. That's my fun. But the benefit of having someone who can just take a look at what you're doing and be, as you said, brutally honest, telling them where their gaps are and then helping them fill it without necessarily worrying about, I mean, we all have to make a living, but without worrying that you're going to offend them and then they won't want to work with you. Because the bottom line is,
Yep.
you were right. You were absolutely right. He needed to fix his website.
And the nice thing about it too is Dr. Berg probably spent a ton of money. He did it in 3 days in an episode in a time period before ChatGPT, right? They crushed it and probably spent more than $20,000 to $30,000 on putting that together, is my guess. In today's day and age, I have built an incredible team that takes care of a lot of those components, and they do it complimentary for our clients and for our prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the mechanics aren't the value of moving the brand forward. We've got to have great leaders, and the time it takes
Mm-hmm.
to build great leaders and help people step into that and focus on, again, not controlling but leading the way. It's ironic how long it takes people to kind of get out of their own way, but that needs to be the focal point.
I absolutely agree, because too often I run into entrepreneurs who have, and thought leaders who have heard someone say, you've got to do X, Y, or Z. And they
Mm.
fixate on that. And they fixate on, it's got to be this tool.
It's a massive
And
red flag for me. Massive. Anytime somebody uses the word, you've got to do this, or you should do this, or this is what you need to do, those are all controlling words. It's a vocabulary that we can choose to use or not. The moment somebody says that, I know that I don't want to work with them.
I think the approach I think the approach of, if you do this, here's how it can work. And then you decide if you should or shouldn't do that. And
Freedom of choice. You nailed it.
freedom, absolutely. Of course, now you're going to have me second guessing every word that I use, because I do find that if I'm not policing myself, the shoulds creep in. That's a
And
holdover from my corporate days.
all of us have that opportunity, right? So I do it too, because we live in a society that focuses on absolutes and on controlling vocabulary. So even saying I have to police myself, right? I have an
Mhm.
opportunity to say, you know what? I have the opportunity to let go of policing myself. It's a constant process of intentional behaviors. And if we are intentional with how we treat ourselves and with how we treat others with our word choice, it's amazing what happens to the quality of our relationships.
And the words that you use are so important for the impression that you make in the rest of the world, but also how it drives your thinking. I took a
100%.
linguistics course in college, and one of the things that I studied was the fact that there was a Native American tribe that had no future tense.
Wow.
And the power of that language, and the question was,
Mm.
Was it an attitude about the way you live your life that drove their language, or was it their language that drove how they lived their life? But either way, this was a culture that became very present and very in the moment because
Right. That's the
there
focus.
was no future tense.
Right. And it's really helpful in overcoming the vice that is expectation. People
Mhm.
love to have expectations. Shakespeare, hundreds of years ago, said, expectation is the root of all heartache. When I learned that, it broke my heart. And I began to start saying, you know what? I've got to learn. I have the opportunity to learn, to stop setting unfair expectations on life that I can't control and appreciate what's given to me. Aspirations are the virtue, expectation is the vice.
Fabulous. All right, Jackson, you and I could hang out and chat forever and ever and ever, but we're going to put a pin in it now. But I am going to encourage anyone, if you're listening and you're curious, you really want to check out firstclassbusiness.io and look for the visionpositive.com podcast. There'll be links to that and all sorts of other social media resources in the show notes. Jackson, thanks for being a part of the show.
Fantastic to be here, Lorraine. Take care.
You too. If you've enjoyed this conversation and you'd like to find other resources for your business, be sure to look for MTFW wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen to two, they're short. This has been another episode of More Than a Few Words. Thanks for listening.